That was his art, his vision of using psychology to like reveal the person. And he used form to make something that was lasting.
He said that the most important thing is to get to know the subject, talk to them, and make them forget the camera. That was his main thing. They would look into the lens as if they were looking at him.
Life magazine loved him so much because he had a different approach to portrait photography. He was sort of on the cusp of introducing these playful and strange images into pop culture America through his contacts with life. So he played both sides. He worked for life and he worked for the man, so to speak, but with those relationships, he was friends with, Dick Simon at Simon & Schuster, and then could pitch him the idea for this book all about Dali's mustache. So he used each world to benefit the other. And he just took whatever assignments he could at the beginning just to pay for rent. But then when he started working for Life, he began to shoot, more culturally important people.
He had the assignment to photograph the Duke and Duchess of Windsor for Life magazine. And they came to his apartment on 67th Street where he had his large studio. He said they looked at him like two hungry hyenas, and he didn't know how to make them warm up. And suddenly he said, "But you are the man who gave up his crown for the woman he loved." And this is the resulting picture.
He really wanted to get the essence of the person. He wanted to peek behind the persona that is so projected. And so his kind of life quest was to really find out a way to expose and explore and capture the real soul behind the mask of the face.
They felt a kind of kinship. They were both foreign. They both spoke 3 to 6 languages. They were both very interested in science and what was happening in the world. Dali reflected it in all his paintings. And Philippe was ready to jump in and translate them to photographs.
One of my grandfather's most well-known images is a collaboration with Dali he did where there's 7 nude women who are positioned to form a skull. Philippe had to figure out how to translate this design into an image. So he had to make different architectural elements to host the nudes, and then there was a whole day of putting them together to form the skull, and his sister whiting the feet to make the teeth look white. Just another day in the life of Philippe and Dali.
Dali said, "Why don't we get a duck and put dynamite in his derriere and explode him?" And Philippe said, "You can't do that. We're in America, we'll be arrested." So they thought up, maybe they'll take a cat. So they had 3 cats in the studio, 4 assistants, and a bucket of water.
Philippe was trying to escape from Paris. The Nazis were invading.
My mother and his sister went to Princeton to ask Einstein's help, and he wrote a letter to Eleanor Roosevelt, who added Philippe's name to the list of artists and intellects emergency rescue committee. We say it's because of Einstein that he got in.
We had this amazing legacy and this huge studio archive, and just financial circumstances made us have to move out. Every day there was a surprise, whether it was finding a really interesting photograph of like a beauty contest from Jamaica with all these girls sitting on cannons, or a trunk full of like glass plate negatives from 1920s France, or early sepia tone silver prints from Europe. It seemed like in every drawer there would be some magical paper clip, or some handkerchief Dali sneezed on. Everywhere seemed to provide some surprise.
Everybody had a job. We would help my father many times when he had to photograph people. He would use my sister and I. We were so bored with this. He would use us for testing lights, for testing his film, for testing the exposure and the seconds. We would always be holding little pieces of cardboard saying 1/5 of a second or 4.5. But on the other hand, he was a very kind and caring father. Sometimes people came over and they were trying to teach Philippe how to play poker. I don't know, he was very bad at card games. But here is the famous John Mealy, Dimitri Kessel, Robert Capa, and Cornel Capa.
He came up with this concept of jumpology, the Jump Project, and if you go on Flickr right now, there's this group called the Jump Group, and it's just people all over the world shooting people jumping. And this was, he was the first photographer to ask people to jump for him, to break down body language.
He photographed Nixon jumping, he photographed the Duke and Duchess jumping. He found out that you could really read a person's character through their jump.
Everyone knows his classic pictures of Marilyn or his classic pictures of Albert Einstein, that I wanted to have a book more about his unknown work. And, okay, product placement shot. So it wasn't until later, after I pulled about like 200 or 300 prints, I started like pairing them up and tried to find ones that kind of spoke to each other. Here's a picture of my grandmother in the Alps in the 1920s, and she's kind of walking in silhouette through a snow passageway. And then here's a picture of Cocteau walking down a hallway full of arms that evoke his Belle et la Bête. He did so much stuff pre-computers that I just wanted to honor in this book, that shows the creative elements of working with your hands and working with little scissors and cutting things out and reshooting them in a very meticulous way. It's this quality of playing with your hand and not relying so much on trickery with computers, but just thinking for yourself, like on the fly, and being very inventive. But he was trying to provoke thoughts in other photographers. The camera is just the machine that captures the image, but the photographer, the mind of the photographer, this is the real instrument that creates an image.
Philippe was so interested in human beings and the psychology behind them that he really wanted to find their essence. And I would like people to remember that of all the photographers, Philippe really got close to the essence of his subjects. My name is Irene Halsman.
And I'm Oliver Halsman Rosenberg. And you're watching RETV.